Hello my gamers and tax evaders alike. If I asked you what is the worst thing that Marvel Comics has ever done, what would you say? I know I'm giving you a lot to work with here because it's been a lot. There's been a lot. Maybe good old Rob Liefeld, his entire career, perhaps? Maybe the Clone Saga, maybe Spider-Man One More Day? Perhaps even Snowflake and Safe Space, and whatever the fuck this is from Marvel's failed reboot of The New Warriors, perhaps? She's built like a fucking Yeti. What was the thought process here?
I got interested in The New Warriors later. I remember seeing them on the shelf when I was a kid, picking up comics in the 90s, and just feeling like they were too cool for me.
That's because they are too cool for him. I think taking a hot shower would be too extreme for this guy. But yeah, Snowflake did whatever the fuck, that whole team, that's fair. That would be a good choice in my opinion. But the thing is that shit got canned before they even released it. If you want to talk about the worst thing Marvel Comics has done that has stuck around, we're gonna have to talk about the organization known as AIM.
But you can't do this to me. You know how much I sacrificed?
Now this one might actually end up being kind of controversial because a lot of people like AIM, for reasons I don't understand. But in my opinion, AIM is literally the laziest and most contrived group in the entire Marvel universe, whatever you want to call it. And that's my opinion. You're allowed to disagree. You're also allowed to be a stupid duty head. You're allowed to be dumb. You're allowed to have a brain full of shit and piss and not much else in there. For those who don't know, AIM stands for Advanced Idea Mechanics, and the whole idea behind the group, I'm going to read from Wikipedia here. It is depicted as a think tank of brilliant scientists dedicated to overthrowing the world's governments through technological means. And I don't think that that's an unheard of concept. I could see Elon Musk wanting to do something like that. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a cabal of like fucking Jeff Bezos, you know, Bill Gates. They're all secretly working together or something to fucking overthrow the government. I wouldn't be surprised by that. But when you get deeper into like what AIM is, how they've been used, and how they've been like treated, I guess, by writers, that's when you start getting into the issues that I have with AIM. Because the deeper down this rabbit hole you go, it just gets stupider and fucking stupider with each subsequent step. And I get it, it's comics. I know that a lot of the shit that we see in comics is contrived and just downright retarded. I understand that, and I can forgive a lot of it, but in my opinion, AIM pushes past the limits of believability for me. I cannot accept that AIM would ever be a real organization. It's just too fucking stupid. Now to play the devil's advocate a little bit here, you know, AIM actually started as like an offshoot of Hydra. So, you know, Hydra's basically Nazis, and Nazis did experiments. That's a real thing, you know? I'm not saying that that's fake, and I guess that kind of makes sense, that there would be like an organization of like evil Nazi scientists. That's not too absurd, I guess. And hey man, I'm willing to forgive Hydra. I think Hydra could still exist into the modern world, maybe. I can believe it, but you know what I can't believe? That one little invention of theirs that everybody seems to love for some fucking reason, known as MODOK. Here he is, in all his disgusting, terrible glory. To call the character design atrocious is an insult to the word atrocious. It is beyond bad design. And I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure this was Jack Kirby who created him, but hey man, Kirby created a ton of good shit, and he's gonna have a stinker in there every now and then. The entire thing makes no sense. Where does his head end and like the machine part of him begin? Does he have a torso? Like, could he be taken out of this carrier chair that he's in? What does his body look like underneath of that thing? I just can't picture it, and I probably shouldn't. Also, how does he shit and piss in that chair? I don't know if I want to know that answer, because I'm almost 100% sure that Marvel has probably given an explanation for that in the comics in the past. I guarantee it. I mean, at the end of the day, there's always been something so conceptually horrifying about a bodiless person, a person without a torso, just arms and legs jutting out of their head. It's kind of just grotesque, and I think MODOK kind of falls into that category for me. And that's the problem with him, is that he looks so ridiculous and stupid that I cannot take him seriously as a character. If he's ever supposed to be a threat to any of the heroes that I'm like reading about in the comics, I'm like, nobody could take that seriously. He just looks fucking dumb. And by the way, MODOK, yeah, kind of a goofy name, right? Well, that's because it's an acronym, and you can tell that they thought of the name MODOK first and then went back and they applied the acronym to it, because it's super fucking contrived, which, yeah, okay. Contrived is a word that you're going to be throwing around a lot when you're talking about comics. MODOK, if you're not aware, stands for Mental Organism, designed only for killing. I wish I was joking, but that's what it stands for. Now, to be fair, I was looking into it, and apparently the story goes that his original name was MODOK with a C at the end, and he actually stood for Mental Organism Designed Only for Computing. He was supposed to be like a computer, I guess. And by the way, still a stupid name. Still actually a dumb name. But like, since they're Nazi scientists, he was like a normal guy who like worked for AIM, and they did an experiment on him that kind of morphed him into this MODOK monster, and it also made him go crazy, so he threw away the MODOK name and instead named himself MODOK. That'd be like if your parents named you like Skylar, and you're like, I don't want to be Skylar, I want to be Skylar, and you add like fucking AI to it instead of Y, and the K stands for killing. The experiment was like designed to make him more intelligent, so, you know, that's big head, that's where that comes from. I mean, to me, he just kind of looks like a fucking soup can stuffed with brain. I don't see it, man. I don't see the appeal. And I'm looking at this image of him from Wikipedia, and it makes slightly more sense, I guess. Like, I could see there being a tiny little torso in there, like, you know, beneath the fucking cancer cell that is his head. Maybe, but then again, like, most of the artists don't really present him in this way. This is kind of a unique take, I would say. Or maybe not, I don't know. It seems like it is. In a lot of appearances, he's depicted as, like, the leader of AIM, and I'm sorry, man, but if you're an evil Nazi scientist, right, you believe you're a good guy, right? At the end of the day, everybody believes that they're a good guy. How can you possibly not realize that you're the bad guy when your fucking leader is a giant floating evil-looking head? You gotta realize, right?
Are we the baddies?
And who in their fucking right mind would want to work for a guy that fucking looks like that? I wouldn't! Would you? Like, yeah, I get it. They're Nazi scientists, you know. Hydra still exists into the modern day. I get it. But I just wonder how AIM manages to recruit this many people. It says right in their name, Advanced Idea Mechanics. Mechanics. They need scientists and smart people to recruit. And if you look at our academic and scientific institutions nowadays, I mean, they're pretty damn liberal. So where are they getting all these, like, extreme right-wing Nazis? And that is a serious question that you have to ask when you see how many of these guys get killed in the comics. These guys are used as absolute fucking fodder for our heroes to just plow through. I read a comic, I want to say within maybe the last couple of months, where Wolverine was going on like a rescue mission to save some of his fellow X-Men who were kidnapped by AIM, so he gets onto a satellite that's, you know, run by AIM, and I shit you not, Wolverine has to kill, at the bare minimum, 100 AIM grunts, scientists, whatever you want to call them, while he's doing this. And it's with no issues, you know, super easy, barely an inconvenience. And that's super cool. I like seeing Wolverine let loose and Marvel letting him just fucking rip through people. It's kind of funny watching like the animated kids shows that have Wolverine in them, because he pulls them out, but he does nothing with them ever. So seeing him just fucking rip through guys like you know he can is kind of satisfying to see. But I just can't help but wonder as I'm reading this, I'm like, where is AIM gonna get all the new recruits to replace these guys who were just fucking sloon, is that a word? Slayed, murdered by Wolverine. And why are all these guys so fucking eager to get murdered by Wolverine for AIM? Are they actually that fucking crazy about AIM? I mean, I guess you have to be in AIM. I just find it hard to believe that this many people are willing to die for the cause that they believe in, because how many people do you know in the real world that are genuinely willing to die for a cause they believe in? Not fucking many. Not me. I'm not going to. Put a gun to my head, I will tell you MODOK is the greatest supervillain of all time. Right now, I swear to God. And their costume design is also pretty shit. You know, it just looks hot and stuffy 100% of the time. They just look like the fucking dudes from Monsters Incorporated, the CDA. Except the CDA has a reason to be wearing these suits all the time, because they think that human children are like toxic to monsters or something, so it makes sense. But AIM just wears this as their uniform. For like no reason. And that's just another reason why I don't think anybody would want to be a part of AIM. Uncomfortable uniforms. Epic camera dying during filming moment. For you, no time passed. For me, hours passed. Now truly, I do get it. It's not meant to be taken seriously, but I think the inherent issue with the concept is that you're trying to tell the story within a universe, and that universe is meant to be taken seriously. The universe itself isn't a joke. It has serious characters. It's got serious, real people that are supposed to feel like real people. Like, while the mutants are getting into some wacky, goofy hijinks with AIM, there's also serious stories about real people getting hurt and saved by Daredevil in Hell's Kitchen, and it's hard to like read these stories about Daredevil and see these real people who feel like real people, and then remember that this is the same world where MODOK exists. And perhaps you could apply that same logic to say like, oh, you know, I can't take this seriously, and this is the same world as Dr. Octopus, or this is the same world where a guy dresses up like a fucking Green Goblin. Like, I get it. And obviously those are completely ridiculous, and maybe those are just more normalized to me, and that's why I'm willing to accept them. I don't know, but I just cannot do the same with MODOK. I cannot accept it as being a real world when fucking MODOK exists. Oh, and by the way, the Daredevil was just an example. I know not every single run of Daredevil is dark and serious. Some of them are light and humorous. But anytime I read a story and AIM appears, I groan, because I know that what I'm about to watch is just a bunch of fucking stupid shit that happens for no reason, with no repercussions. A lot of jokes at the expense of AIM, because AIM deserves to be made a joke of, but also, you know, they're trying to be like a serious group. This is a real world. This isn't a sitcom. And I feel like that's the inherent problem with it. The Marvel Comics universe is not a situational comedy. It's supposed to be taken seriously as a real place. Now, some stories do treat it like a sitcom, and some stories treat it like a real place. And I feel like those two things clash with each other in a really difficult to, in a way that's really difficult to make sense of. I can't help but feel the stakes lowered in these down-to-earth stories when I know that there are also these ridiculous supervillain organizations like Hydra and fucking AIM out there. Again, Hydra not as much, although their costumes are fucking goofy. I feel like groups like AIM and other silly things like that in the Marvel Comics universe just drags down the overall quality of the comics universe. And that's kind of the inherent problem with a comics universe. When you have this shared universe, is that every single writer will have their own vision of what this thing should be. And obviously I have my own vision here. And I guess mine is more of a grounded one. And I'm not a writer for Marvel or anything, obviously, but, you know, that's the issue, is that every single person is going to be bringing a different tone to the table, and sometimes those tones seriously clash. Like, for instance, if we want to bring in an example that everyone's going to understand, Thor: Love and Thunder. The tone of that movie was so wildly inconsistent with, like, say the MCU 10 years ago, with a Thor movie 10 years ago, that it almost feels like a completely separate entity. Like they don't exist in the same universe, even though they're technically telling a continuous story. And I can't get past that absolute disruption in the tone. Am I supposed to take the story seriously or not? That's the same question that I ask myself whenever I see AIM in it. Am I supposed to take this seriously? Is this an actual threat? Or are these just throwaway characters there just so that my characters can have a bunch of people to rip through? That's, you know, I feel like it drags down the overall quality of the story. And that's fine if that's what you're into. Like I said, I don't mind seeing Wolverine fucking pulverizing, ripping to shreds a bunch of guys. I just kind of want it to have, like, emotional weight when I see it happen. Otherwise, it just feels cheap, I guess. Like almost a misuse of Wolverine as a character. Like, I know Wolverine's a pretty ruthless guy, and when it comes to defending his friends, he doesn't stop. He's a fucking berserker. But also, he's a guy that really deals with the fact that he has a lot of issues, and he's trying to be a better person, and, you know, just seeing him slaughtering these people, I know that they're not supposed to be real people. They're supposed to be drones. That's why they wear full costumes, so you can't see their face and empathize with them in any way. But, I don't know. It's silly, man. It's really silly. But what are your thoughts on AIM? Are you a fan of AIM? If so, please get yourself checked out, and then let me know in the comments, like, what actually appeals to you about AIM and MODOK, because I really don't get it, if that hasn't been made abundantly clear by now. But anyway, this will be my last video ever, for all time. I hope you guys have enjoyed all the nice little voice cracks that I've had. I've got a bit of a chest cold right now. Not to say that I don't normally have voice cracks, but it's more so than normal. This is going to be my last video ever. I will see you all in hell with Mephisto, where I hope to also see new rock stars, because they deserve to burn in hell.